In the deep winter night of January 30th, 2000, a disaster of silent, invisible proportions was unleashed near a small village called Bozanta Mare, just outside the Romanian city of Baia Mare. Over 100,000 tons of cyanide-laced wastewater, an estimated 100 tons of sodium cyanide mixed with heavy metals poured into farmland, poisoned wells, and gushed into the Cesar River, carrying death downstream into Hungary's Tisza and eventually the Danube itself, stain 3 countries and haunt the living for decades. This is the story of Europe's forgotten cataclysm, Romania's Chernobyl. Part 1, The Unfolding Catastrophe. Deep in the foothills of the Carpathians, the Oral S, a gold extraction plant, held its tailings pond behind a dam of earth and rock. That dam was not built to last a bitterly cold winter, followed by sudden thaws and torrential rain. At 10:35 p.m., the walls gave way. 100,000 cubic meters of cyanide-laced sludge, containing nearly 100 tons of sodium cyanide plus arsenic, lead, cadmium, rushed out, swallowing farm fields and village lanes in Bozanta Mare and the neighboring settlement of Sasar. In minutes, wells and soils were poisoned. The acidic torrent slipped into the Someș River, flowed into Hungary's Tisza, and hours later, drifted into Serbia and beyond. Nearly 1,500 kilometers of waterway turned into a corridor of death. An estimated 200 tons of fish washed ashore, species wiped out along 400 kilometers of riverbank. Otters, birds, creatures of every stripe perished after feasting on contaminated prey. Towns shut off their water supplies. Hundreds of thousands were left thirsty, terrified. Immediate impact. The initial wave of toxic slurry obliterated aquatic life along hundreds of kilometers. Fish gasped on riverbanks. Otters and waterfowl perished after feeding on contaminated carcasses. Within days, the plume, measuring up to 40 kilometers long, had crossed into Hungary, killing an estimated 200 tons of fish, including 20 protected species, in the Tisza River. Human response. Authorities in Romania, Hungary, and as far as Ukraine cut off tap water supplies to hundreds of thousands of residents for weeks. Boiling was ineffective. The crisis required bottled water shipments and international aid convoys. International media quickly dubbed the spill Europe's worst environmental disaster since Chernobyl, labeling it Romania's Chernobyl, a sobriquet that would stick and frame public memory of the event. Why it happened. Poor tailings dam design, lack of maintenance, and inadequate regulatory oversight. Unusual weather patterns. A sudden thaw combined with heavy rain created hydrostatic pressures the dam could not withstand. Interview with environmental engineer. The facility's design was fundamentally flawed. There were no emergency spillways, no secondary containment. Once the dam wall breached, there was nothing to stop the cyanide, mixed with arsenic, lead, and cadmium, from rushing straight into the watershed. Yet astonishingly, no human fatalities were recorded in the immediate aftermath. There were no dramatic hospital corridors lined with cyanide victims. Instead, the poisoning was silent and creeping. In the weeks and months that followed, emergency crews pumped and diluted, and cyanide levels did decline. But heavy metals, those cursed remnants of mining, settled like rust into riverbeds and soils. Village wells were abandoned. For years afterward, fishermen in Hungary's Tisza recorded catches just 20% of their former bounty. Some biologists feared recovery might take over a decade. In the media, the disaster was christened Romania's Chernobyl, a hyperbolic comparison to 1986's nuclear nightmare, yet not wholly inaccurate. Both events spread toxic agents beyond borders, both tainted water, land, lives. But while Chernobyl's radiation lingered unseen in the air, Bayamare's poison lay in sediments, in dust, in the bones of fish and the lungs of villagers. It was an invisible enemy that refused to vanish. Part 2. The Haunting Aftermath and Myths. As memory of the flood faded, myths arose. They spoke of the curse of gold and cyanide, that the ancient greed for Oral's riches had summoned a vengeance too potent. Villagers whispered that the land itself was angry. Whenever the wind shifted, a purple haze of dust, tiny specks of arsenic and cadmium, would drift down from the dried tailings pond. A spectral blight they called Bantuire, the haunting. Locals even spoke of the dead river, once the Cesar, now cursed by cyanide. They said on still nights you could hear the river weep, a soft, mournful gurgle echoing through the valley, as if the water itself cried for its lost children. Some claimed that after a storm, the air smelled faintly of bitter almonds, the telltale scent of cyanide, prompting prayers to ward off invisible poison falling like black rain. These tales, half truth and half fear, bind the community's memory to myth. What began as an industrial accident evolved into a modern fable of a land cursed by gold, haunted by its own pollution. Part 3. Linking to Chernobyl's ghost. Linking Bayamare to Chernobyl is more than catchy journalism. Both zones became exclusion zones, ghostly landscapes where nature and humans contest for survival. In Pripyat, abandoned buildings stand frozen in time. Here, the chimneys of Bayamare's smelting plant pierce a ghostly skyline. Reminders of prosperity turned perilous. Scientists speak of natural remediation, dilution of cyanide, slow rebirth of fish. Yet just like radiation in the Red Forest, heavy metals remain lodged in sediments, awaiting the careless or the unlucky. Part 4. Into the zone where life is dying. Imagine now, a lone explorer, stepping through a rift in reality. Beyond the barbed wire, past warning signs, lies the Bosanta Mare exclusion zone. The earth here glows an unnatural orange under moonlight. Pools of cyanide shimmer like quicksilver, reflecting twisted silhouettes of dead trees. The air tastes metallic, and each breath is a gamble. In the shadow of the giant smokestack, Romania's tallest chimney, now a hollow sentry, lie the remains of processing halls. Here, anomalies lurk. Acidic mists cling like ghosts to corroded machinery. Electronic devices flicker. Compasses spin madly. They say footsteps echo without source. Whispers beckon from the dust. Some stalkers search for fragments of gold among the tailings, but often pay with their sanity. Beneath the poisoned soil, life fights back in twisted forms. Frogs with milky eyes, fish with ragged fins, plants bleeding neon hues. Rumor speaks of a colossal albino carp, a phantom in the Tisa's depths, spawned by cyanide's curse. At night, some swear they see spectral fish swirling in the air. Or are they hallucinations born of contaminated dreams? The zone does not forgive trespass. Those drawn by greed or curiosity risk vanishing into its silent embrace. Part 5. Europe's Chernobyl meets the zone. The real-world horrors of Bosanta Mare reverberate in fiction. Imagine the exclusion zone, a decaying half-civilization where nature and industry war over a poisoned landscape. Exclusion zone atmosphere. Barbed wire fences sag around the cracked dam. Warning signs in broken Romanian, Hungarian, and English warn no entry, yet thrill seekers and scavengers slip inside by moonlight. An enormous rusted smokestack, once the tallest chimney in Romania, looms over the tailings. It's rumored that at night it broadcasts a low, mournful hum, like a radio tower trapped between worlds. Environmental anomalies. Streams glow with an unnatural sapphire sheen under the moon, cyanide reflecting starlight in eerie ripples. Pools of acidic water cling to factory floors. Boots hiss and corrode on contact. In some spots, the ground seems to breathe. Hot patches of earth that steam in the cold. Mutations and monsters. Survivors whisper of albino deer with blood-red eyes that slip between trees. Frog carcasses with extra limbs line the riverbanks. A giant catfish, scaled in sickly white, stalks the depths of the poisoned Tiza, a living testament to nature's resilience and rage. Human survivors and scavengers. A ragged band of stalkers prowls the zone, seeking relics, bits of gold panned from the creek's sediment, shards of Soviet-era machinery, or the fabled cyanide eye, a crystal that, legend claims, glows with the spill's original poison. Hermits and cultists have taken refuge in abandoned houses, performing rituals to appease the spirit of the river. Candles line the pond's shore in an annual vigil to calm the curse, though whether it ever sleeps is anyone's guess. Part 6. Echoes of Chernobyl. Like Pripyat, Baia Mare stands as a monument to human error. But where Chernobyl's fallout was invisible radiation, Bozanta Mare's curse is chemical, a slow-acting poison that seeps through soil and bone. Both sites share an exclusion zone, abandoned homes, and a sense that the world went wrong overnight. In Chernobyl, concrete sarcophagi sealed a reactor's heart. In Bozanta Mare, no sarcophagus ever came. The tailings pond remains uncapped, its toxins still leaching. Both disasters spawned myths, spectral figures in the woods, strange lights over forbidden ruins, and the whispered question, what did we do to deserve this? 25 years have passed, yet the waters of Bozanta Mare still reflect a poisoned sun. The legends live on, a testament to nature's fragility and humanity's blind pursuit of gold. And if you listen, the wind may carry a warning. Some doors once opened never close. Subscribe for more stories from the edge of civilization.